So, Christoph, you are our guest speaker for today. I'd like to offer you a hugely warm welcome to the call. You are from the Bioregion Portfolio Fund, and you are going to talk also about your work with Woodland Savers. So, I'd like to hand over now to Christoph.
Thank you very much, Janet, and thank you, everyone. It's great to be here in this very august company of extraordinary companies doing extraordinary things at extraordinary scale. My background is that I've been a social entrepreneur for the last 15 years. I spent 10 years in the film industry before that, but as a volunteer in the prisons, care homes, and homelessness sectors. And so I'm a sort of impact person. I'm a community builder, but I'm about creating systems which enable communities to develop their capabilities. And right now, the great challenge that I'm involved in addressing is reversing the decline of nature in the UK and creating a movement and set of tools that can enable communities to contribute to that, because all individuals and communities that I know of feel a sense of overwhelm about the climate and nature crises. But the tools exist and the resources and the expertise exist to enable them to take part in this. So Woodland Savers is an organisation that has been founded to create those mechanisms. Am I, Janet, able to share? Is that all right?
Be able to.
Okay, great. Let me see if I can do that. There we go. And can you see that presentation? Great.
Yes, we can. Thank you, Christoph.
We can.
Excellent, very good. So yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do. Essentially, we are an organisation that enables communities to buy and manage land for nature recovery. But the way that we do that is to build partnerships and frameworks at region scale, or bioregion, as we refer to it. A bioregion is essentially a nature-defined geography, and in which we find that institutions, individuals, households, governments, companies find a natural set of identifications and associations, and it is a very useful unit at which to work, and for us gives us the efficiencies of scale and all the more chance of making a meaningful dent in this supreme challenge that we're addressing. So I'm going to say a little bit about what who we are, and let me just go back to the beginning there. So the organisation was founded in the Exe Valley in Devon 3 years ago by some of the co-founders that you'll see in this image, two filmmakers and a lawyer, a media lawyer, very distinguished. All three of them essentially crowdfunded just over £500,000 to save their local woodlands, 3 lots, 100 acres, from being sold, and to prevent terrible things happening to it. To prevent it from being clear felled, from fenced off, from being neglected, or being turned into a commercial enterprise that might be nature negative and community negative. And Franny Armstrong, one of them, was one of the pioneers of crowdfunding in this country. Janet, let me just quickly check in on timings. When am I okay to share this with your colleagues until?
So we normally allocate sort of 15 to 20 minutes. We're not hard and fast, so we are really interested in what you've got to say. So, you know, if you get to half an hour, I'll probably be starting to give you the Paddington Bear hearts there, but yes.
Okay,
is that helpful?
Very good. That's really helpful. Thanks so much. So yes, Franny Armstrong, one of the 3 co-founders, was one of the pioneers of crowdfunding in the UK. She set up the UK's first crowdfunding platform to fund her eco documentaries back in 2002. So since then, the organisation went through 2 years of research and development funded by the Forestry Commission, and during which I, who was then running a climate finance consultancy, and I remain a mentor on the Imperial College Clean Tech Accelerator, was hired in to turn this from an idea into an organisation. Our second project, which was last year, we helped save 20 acres of ancient woodland in West Yorkshire by enabling a community to set up a crowdfunder That target of £138,000 they raised in 8 days from 1,300 local people. And that was match funded by a patient philanthropic loan by a brilliant woman called Julia Davis from We Have the Power, who is a sort of smaller individual version of the Esme Fairbairn Foundation's land purchase facility, which is essentially rapid access patient debt capital. And that wood has now been saved. There were 11 bids over the asking price for this woodland. And in both of the two examples that I've shared with you, the bid was successful, even though that it wasn't the highest of the bids that had been submitted, but because it had this good news power, this legacy, this positive social and environmental legacy and mission and vision. So we knew that we were on strong ground to start raising significant capital. And so some of these organizations have since joined us as supporters in our ecosystem. We raised just under $750,000 in equity investment in February of this year, led by the Esme Fairbairn Foundation. And we have brilliant legal support from Bates Wells, who are well known for their expertise in governance for impact. We went through a brilliant pro bono project with Bain to create a matrix to assess projects. We partner with Tree Economy on our natural capital data. Schroders have been backing and following closely what we do. And we know that they are interested in taking a position in some of our larger fund structures, which I will come on to. So this is where we sit. Just get that down a little bit so you can see that. Is that visible to colleagues? Thumbs up. Great. Okay, thank you. So this is the important layer at which we operate. Large institutions, governments, corporates, business, finance don't have an easy means of connecting to and providing support to deriving value from the micro-organizations that exist on the ground. And so what we are working to do is to essentially and are already serving as is essentially an organization that can face both ways, can talk both sets of languages, and can create instruments for value to flow respectively between these two categories. And that is a very important piece of work. We know, for instance, when Mark Carney left COP26 at Glasgow, he announced the GFANS network, which is supposedly 130 trillion of assets under management in ESG aligned funds. We know, and there are various other kind of ways of counting how much capital there is available to essentially to carbon and nature projects. But we know that we have all the resources that we need, but we need these instruments to make the connections. So we then have a co-design process. We are a microeconomic, microecological organization which creates projects from the ground up. So in our work with the Welsh Government to create a framework for a community land fund, and we have I think 5 projects underway. Yes, 5 projects. That you will see these on the map that I'll come to. We essentially are there to enable what is happening locally to happen better. Wales has a project called the National Forest for Wales. That is to dramatically expand tree cover in Wales, but they are currently achieving 5% of their tree planting targets, and they don't have the capital to do it, and they don't have the bandwidth to do it. And they and many other of their counterparts in the Northern Ireland, in the Greater London Assembly, recognise the need for structures that can pull in different kinds of finance, but which can be rooted in local heritage, local organisations, local impact, and positive local features. And that's where we are there to kind of plug the gaps between those two. And so how do we do that? Well, we create ecosystems of, I'm going to just jump forward a couple of slides. We create essentially ecosystems of institutions who can plug the gaps in projects which are delivering nature recovery, rooted in community, at this scale. Let's just go back. So here is a summary of our bioregions that are currently in development. And even in the last couple of weeks, we've been pulled into a seventh bioregion, which is the Wheel to Waves project, which some of you here may be familiar. I don't know if there's anyone from Arup on the call, but we have been pulled into that by a colleague called Ian Rogers, and Arup themselves are developing a £100 million fund for climate and nature in the UK. So these bioregions are large landscape scale restoration projects. The White Rose Forest, which is one of 15 England's community forests, covers 10,000 square kilometres of North and West Yorkshire. And they need help with capital and community. And that is what we are hearing from everybody that we are engaging in this. The Loch Ney project is almost 500,000 hectares. It's 43% of the landmass of Northern Ireland. And because of an over-intensity of livestock agriculture over the last 10 years, driven by policy, and then a lack of policing of the impacts of those policies, the eutrophication of Loch Ney, which is the UK's largest freshwater lake, from which more than 40% of Northern Ireland derive their fresh water, has dramatically increased. And over the last 2 summers, large algal blooms have coated much of the lake. So there is a flashing red light on the dashboard of UK Nature right there. And we are contributing to a general project to bring together the finance and the commerce, the ecosystem services payments from utilities and corporates, investing in farmers shifting to nature positive agriculture, to enable the investments to happen upstream of the damage to nature, rather than which creates savings on what one might be faced with in terms of rescuing nature once the disasters have already happened. Now, of particular interest, I think, perhaps to colleagues on this call, I know you all work on large projects across the UK, is the London Tree Ring. And I'm just going to quickly jump into, so this, broadly speaking, is a project with over 20 wildlife organisations involved, as well as the GLA and the Forestry Commission and Natural England, to create a belt of afforestation, reforestation and restoration around the capital city. And that, the science shows us, is a significant investment in flood prevention and mitigation, water quality, soil health, air quality, as well as in the social value uplifts that we create through these community projects. So this is a 10,000 hectare belt of outer London. These are existing woodlands surrounding Greater London, and a few mapped unsuitable areas and opportunity areas for prospective woodlands. And so we have identified, we've been working with colleagues to identify 100 first prospective sites. We've done ground truthing at 12 sites. We've got 4 of these sites in active development. To make community land acquisitions or joint ventures with existing landowners like the Crown Estate. So I'm just jumping back out here. These are the bioregions. I can share all these documents, obviously, with you. And we then, essentially what we do is we map the stakeholders to a project like this. We're part of the London Tree Ring Steering Group, combining all of the major stakeholders. We go through a process of creating new governance structures and mapping the stakeholder contributions to these projects. We go through listening exercises. We co-design the project. We do conduct feasibility analyses. We have brilliant relationships with research institutions of the very highest order. And we create structures which can unlock the finance and commerce into these projects at scale. And so I think I don't want to, I've already been sharing, I think, for 15 minutes, so I don't want to get too much into this, but all of our work is rooted in very strong social and ethical principles. We are held to these principles by our board. We have a parallel foundation, which has a mission lock on our for-profit social business. So we're very rigorously structured to move capital into nature recovery at scale. And I think, this is where this will go next. And I think what might be of interest to colleagues here is these bioregional funding structures, which essentially work with the partners that are needed to unlock the resources that are needed into high integrity nature and carbon investment projects. So I think I'll pause there, and I'm really happy to talk about anything I've shared.
Well, Christoph, that is exciting. Thank you very much.